Imagine picking up a coin that came from a time when America was standing on the edge of a storm. A quiet year before the world erupted into war. This 1940 Jefferson nickel is one of the last pre-war nickels struck in peace. A coin that passed through the hands of families who had no idea how much their world was about to change. Support our effort. Subscribe, like, and share so we can bring you more videos like this. The 1940 Jefferson nickel may look simple, but it's a key snapshot of history. Struck in Philadelphia with no mint mark, more than 176 million of these coins were minted. That sounds like a lot, and it is, but most of them went straight into circulation. They paid for bus rides, canned food, bread, newspapers, soda bottles, and everyday survival. Because of this constant use, most 1940 nickels today are worn and dull, worth only a few cents. But the real surprises begin when you find a clean, original, mint state example, because high-grade 1940 nickels are not easy to find. Collectors focus on two things first: overall strike and the condition of Monticello on the back. Philadelphia nickels from this era often look a little soft, especially around the steps of Monticello. Heavy circulation and weak dies made sharp strikes rare. That's why full-step examples are the golden ticket. A regular BU 1940 nickel might be worth $20 to $50, but a full-step example can jump into the hundreds, and the highest full-step coins have crossed $3,000 to $4,000 in major auctions. Those numbers shock people because the coin itself isn't rare, but the perfect strike is. A typical circulated 1940 nickel is worth maybe 10 to 50 cents. But once you hit mint state, the value jumps. An MS-65 can bring $30 to $60. An MS-66 can go for $80 to $150. MS-67 examples? Those can push $500 or more if the luster is bright and the surfaces are clean. But the real money is in the full-step designation. An MS-66 full-step coin can reach $800 to $1,500. And an MS-67 full-step is where the value explodes, into the thousands. This is where early Jefferson nickels become powerful investment pieces. But the 1940 nickel has more than strike rarity. It also has some brilliant errors and varieties. Some collectors hunt for off-center strikes. If the coin is struck 5% to 10% off, it might be worth $40 to $80. A dramatic 40% off-center with a full date can bring a few hundred. Then there are clipped planches, where a curved bite is missing from the edge. These usually sell for $20 to $60 depending on size. Some 1940 nickels show die cracks, raised lines caused by worn die steel. Larger cracks can bring premiums because they add character. A few examples even show strong die polish lines, giving the coin a semi-mirror shine, almost like a proof. These premium surfaces attract collectors fast. The story becomes even more interesting when we look at the history behind the coin. The year 1940 was a moment of tension. Europe was already deep in World War II, and America was preparing. Factories were switching from consumer goods to machinery and military parts. Families were starting to ration supplies. The U.S. Mint was striking coins at high speed because circulation demand was rising. People were spending more, traveling more, and preparing for uncertain times. That's why so many of these nickels circulated heavily. They were used constantly. Just a few years later, the U.S. Mint changed nickel composition entirely. Starting in 1942, war nickels were made of silver because nickel metal was needed for military equipment. That makes the 1940 nickel one of the last pure copper-nickel Jefferson nickels struck before America entered the war. This gives it extra historical weight. So what should you look for in your 1940 nickel? Start with the steps on Monticello. If you can see 5 or 6 clean lines, no breaks, you're looking at a full step strike. Turn the coin under bright light and let the luster flow. If the shine rolls smoothly across the surface without dead spots, you're likely looking at a mint state example. Check Jefferson's cheek and jawline. Weak strikes flatten these areas. A sharp cheek means a better strike. On the reverse, look closely at the windows of Monticello, and check for doubling on the lettering. A doubled motto or doubled date can add real value. Never clean your coin. Cleaning destroys the original surface and can knock a $500 coin down to $10 instantly. Collectors want natural surfaces, even with toning, even with old age. Originality is everything. You might be wondering, where do people still find valuable 1940 nickels today? The answer is simple. Anywhere old coins were stored. Old jars, old cigar boxes, inherited collections, coin rolls from banks, estate sales, flea markets, and antique stores. Sometimes a coin shop will have buckets of junk nickels, and you can find pre-1950 pieces just sitting there. Full-step examples often hide in rolls that were saved decades ago. Selling depends on what you have. Regular circulated coins do great on eBay or Facebook marketplaces. But if you find a mint state coin, especially a full-step example, that's when you consider grading. PCGS, NGC, and ANACS can increase your value dramatically. And once graded, the best place to sell a high-grade 1940 nickel is heritage auctions or great collections. Registry collectors will pay serious money for top population examples. The 1940 Jefferson nickel is not rare in low grade, but it becomes a completely different coin when you find it well-preserved or perfectly struck. It's part of America's story. The quiet year before the storm, the last peaceful nickel before wartime silver alloys, and one of the most interesting early dates for collectors.